Es ist 1:58 Uhr. Ich habe jetzt gerade ein paar Stunden geschlafen und es geht gleich los, die inZOI AMA Session. Es wurde schon im Vorfeld angekündigt, es wird heute nicht über den Preis geredet, also immerhin. Etwas, was wir wissen, nicht, dass ich das gut finde, aber dazu später mehr, denn es geht gleich los. Und auf Discord ist so ein bisschen, drehen alle durch, denn das Problem ist, wir haben noch keinen Link. Also es ist alles so, okay, interesting. Jetzt sehen wir auf Discord, dass wir Listen-In machen können. Ist das jetzt nur hier oder ist das noch woanders? Ich verstehe das nicht ganz. Aber ich mache mal Listen-In. Okay.
We collected all of them and we wanted to answer every single one of the questions, but I don't know if it's unfortunately or unfortunately. I'm looking at this now and we have 731 questions submitted within the 24 hours. So for the 24 hours, we try to answer as many questions as we can, but we also want to, you know, explain thoroughly of all the questions that you've asked and try to give you a good explanation so that you guys have a good idea before we get into everything. Just a few notice though before we start. First thing is today's AMA, which kind of is contradictory to what we'll do today, because AMA is supposed to be Ask Me Anything, but as you guys might have seen in the notice when we first posted this out, there are a few key things that we won't be able to answer at this time because we will have another opportunity to answer kind of the big, this seismic level questions that you guys are very, very, curious about. So in terms of that, we won't be able to answer a lot of those things. So today's intended to be a Ask Me Anything, but it's kind of would feel like more like a Ask Me Almost Anything, so maybe AMAA if that's a thing. But we'll try to give you as good of an information with all of our directors here for the situation that we're in. So hope
das ist natürlich gut, dass es so viel Nachfragen gab, muss man sagen.
For now, we have over 1,000 people. 지금 1,000명 이상 벌써 들어오셨네요. 예. So we have over 1,000 people who have joined this AMA. So thank you for all the support and the excitement, and we're very humbled by all of your interest in ZOI. So we'll get right into it. We collected all of your questions in the last 24 hours, and like we said, we wanted to cover everything, but there were just so many questions that we just couldn't get through it all. Your question might not have been answered, but in due time, you will get to know all the information that you need. So hopefully, what we'll be able to cover within this 90 minutes will be sufficient enough for all of you.
Bin ich mal gespannt, auf welche Fragen sie auch eingehen werden.
All right, I'm gonna go into this. All right, so this is the first question that I saw, and I think this was repeated quite a bit. The first one, will we be able to adjust the ZOIs heights? So right now, as you might have noticed in previous videos that we published through our influencers, is that you cannot adjust the ZOIs height, individual heights. And as you might have seen, the male ZOIs are, you know, we programmed them to be a little bit taller than the female ZOIs, so just for that kind of that orientation to look a little bit natural to what we see in the real world.
Okay.
But you cannot adjust the individual heights.
Hol mir was zu schreiben.
For the first question, we have our art director who answered this first question for us. And then I'll just read out his answer to you so that I can be as clear as to why heights cannot be adjusted quite yet.
Okay, Größe können nicht verändert werden, aber Männer sind größer als Frauen.
Has pre-programmed motions. So I know you guys some of you know it as motions for animations. So all the individual animations that a character can do, it has been pre-programmed to to happen at the exact angle that makes it look aesthetically pleasing. But in order to do that, we have to make sure that all the characters are the same intended height, because if we wanted to have, let's say, if I get up, right, and I'm this tall, right, and this, let's say this ZOI is this tall, and we programmed the ZOI, if they want to shake someone's hand, to be at exactly this degree, right? But let's say if I make this ZOI shorter, right, and I go like this degree does not change. This degree goes out, and if the other person's hand is at this position, then we're not shaking the hands anymore. And while some of you might have been thinking that maybe we could do some kind of a dynamic adjustment, and whatchamacallit, some of you techies out there probably know something about inverse kinetics. We have these features that are out there, but once we start applying those kind of a dynamic solutions, the aesthetic quality of all of our motions and animations, they dip down quite a bit. And our art director here kind of concluded that the motion, the beauty of the motion and beauty of the animation kind of overrules the ability to adjust the height. So hopefully you guys can understand where we're coming from with that. So it's a lot of we have to make a decision and kind of go with that, although no decision will be perfect. This is kind of what we went with in terms of not being able to adjust the height, so that all the motion and animation that we pre-programmed into the game looks as natural and looks as beautiful as it can. So we see a lot of very understanding comments in chat.
Also die Größen könnt ihr nicht entsprechend anpassen, einfach weil es aufgrund der Animation halt ist. Also es ist denen wichtiger, dass die Animationen entsprechend gut aussehen, denn sie sind halt noch nicht so ready, beziehungsweise die Tools, dass es sofort dynamisch richtig gut angepasst werden kann. Dementsprechend kann man die Größe nicht verändern.
Our last influencer test, and they were saying, the last test, when we saw all the videos come on YouTube, people were saying that multitasking is what a lot of people wanted. And I'm sure everybody here kind of knows what they're talking about when it comes to multitasking, but it's just kind of the thing where, let's say I'm a ZOI once again, and the ZOI has been programmed to sit down, right? So, so it's doing the motion of sitting down. And let's say this motion is complete, so now I can move on to the next motion, which is, let's say I'm gonna eat food, right? Like I'm eating food, and this is one single action that this ZOI has to complete. But a lot of people are wanting that while we're eating, we continue this motion, but also I'm able to talk with people around me. So this is talking about two motions and two actions happening at the same time. And so that's what most people are talking about when it comes to multitasking. And so with that understood, I will read out the answer. And this is our Leonard, who's our technical director. He gave the answer for this one. So he said, unfortunately, multitasking is a feature that we do have in plans for the future, but it's something that we haven't implemented quite yet for early access. It's something that they definitely are prioritizing as is a very important feature to make sure that it feels very lifelike in your life simulation experience. So knowing the importance of that, he did make a few adjustments since our previous videos that you guys saw from last August, I believe. We did make some adjustments so that even without this ability to multitask quite yet, there are some single action protocols that made it more natural and made it more lifelike. But we know that this is not the end of this story, that we want to kind of implement multitasking in the future, but we'll definitely work on that at a more appropriate time. So that's the answer that you guys got. So we'll get it someday. Just know that it won't be there right away from the early access launch.
Also Multitasking, dass dann die ZOIs beispielsweise essen und dabei gleichzeitig reden können, das wird es nicht zum Early Access geben, aber sie sitzen dran und sie wollen das implementieren. Sie haben das jetzt verbessert für den Early Access Release, aber da kommt eben noch mehr.
Very, very thankful that all of you are very understanding and very positive about our responses. Okay, we'll go on to the next question now. Very simple question is a very simple answer. Someone asked, how many ZOIs can you have in one family? So, some people call them households. We call them family, as we think that everyone who lives under the same roof is deemed as family. But as we're calling
Wie
it
viele
family,
Haushaltsmitglieder?
how many people can live? And I think a lot of people already know the answer to this question. But for those who don't, we have currently programmed to be 8 maximum
Also 8.
ZOIs who can live under the same roof as family. So if you want to have a bigger family than 8 ZOIs to call them family, I think you might have to resort to a more creative solution that isn't natively provided in the game quite yet. So if that's something that you guys want to do, you guys can kind of explore your creative minds to see if you can get more than 8 if you need that. All right, perfect. So you guys,
Okay.
a lot of people are saying 8명으로 만족하시네요, 그래도.
Also daran hat sich nichts geändert. 8 Haushaltsmitglieder können von euch erstellt werden.
임신을 실패하는 거예요, 그러면? So, Eddie, our art director, asked the question of, let's say you have 8 ZOIs in the house already. So, what happens when you get pregnant and have another baby, which would equate to 9? So, Alex, our creative director, answered that since it's been programmed to have only up to 8 ZOIs in the family, if you try to get pregnant and try to have another baby, the impregnation will fail always, will 100% fail, so that you will not have an additional ZOI unless somebody in your family unfortunately dies, then you
Haushaltsmitglieder
have
habt,
a slot to fill. But other than that,
also wenn ihr 8 Haushaltsmitglieder habt schon, dann könnt ihr entsprechend nicht schwanger werden, obviously. Dann wird es immer failen, also es wird immer schief gehen dann.
We don't want to word it like that. We don't want to word it like that, but definitely that is pretty accurate to what we're trying to say. Yes. Okay.
Vielleicht ist es interessant auch ein bisschen dabei.
현재로서.
쪽에서 잘 해주시면.
현재는 없는 거죠.
약간 최적화 때문에 제한을 건 거야?
예, 뭐 그런데 나중에 뭐 모드에서 풀 수 있도록.
So a hint for you guys, if you really want a family that's greater than 8 people, is that we won't be able to provide, once again, native solutions to have more than 8 ZOIs in a household, but we're going to talk about this more because there are questions on this in the later sections. But when we get into modding, right, and you get into script modding, our technical director here, Leonard, he's going to be providing
also Mods
opportunities for modders
könnten das
to
verändern.
go over 8 ZOIs, obviously at your own consent. So that's definitely something that we'll talk about a little bit more in detail later, because there are questions over mods, and we'll discuss this as much as we can today.
Das ist
So
gut.
yeah, that's something that's happening too. So
Mods kommen also auch noch ins
I'm gonna run
Gespräch.
through this because we covered 2 questions and we already spent 12 minutes. So we want to try to get to all the good questions as much as possible. So this one we can get through quickly here. So facial tracking. Facial tracking is, and I'm sure a lot of you guys saw this through the videos on YouTube, is that it just captures your facial movements from your eyes, nose, and mouth, and every bone in between, right? And it captures everything, and it translates that directly to your ZOI, so that whatever facial expressions that you're making, your ZOI on the screen is making that exact same. It's mirroring that. So with that, they were asking, right now, facial tracking is only available on iOS devices. So they were asking, is there plans to support this on Android devices as well? Because not everyone uses iPhones, so some people were asking if they wanted to, if they are able to do this on an Android device. But the answer to that, once again, provided by Leonard. He did mention that right now there are no plans to support this on Android devices.
Okay.
And this is important because it's not due to our lack of abilities or our lack of intention to support it for more players out there, but the facial tracking, the mechanism that iPhone provides on their iOS devices is a patent. 이게 저기 있는 거죠, 이게. 저작권이라는 게.
그쵸. 에픽의 그 애플의 이렇게 특허권이라고.
애플의 특허권. So Apple as a company has a patent on this technology that we are utilizing to make this facial recognition thing.
wusste ich gar nicht.
So that's why the Android devices cannot emulate that exact same experience. So right now, there aren't really going to be solutions on Android devices to do exactly the same thing that you can do on iPhones. But we are going to work on, yes. So Eddie, our
Also, um das kurz zusammenzufassen, es gibt ja diese Facial-App, vor allem, wenn ihr SOIs erstellt, dass ihr dann auch mit eurem Gesicht das alles machen könnt und dass die SOIs entsprechend sprechen können. Und das geht bisher nur mit iOS-Devices und das liegt daran, dass ein Patent von Apple darauf liegt. Heißt, es wird es anscheinend niemals für Android geben, weil, ja, Apple hat das Patent da drauf. Heißt, es liegt jetzt nicht an ihnen, weil sie iOS lieben, sondern es liegt einfach an rechtlichen Dingen. Finde ich sehr interessant, wusste ich nicht.
Not much of a introduction to the features, but someone asked, as we have our technical director, creative director, and art director here, they were asking, what were some of the things that you thought was very interesting as a feature of inZOI that you really want to introduce to the players so that they can try it out and have fun with it? So we had Leonard and Eddie both come up with answers for what they really wanted to provide. And they both mentioned 3D printers. And I know a lot of people have already seen what the 3D printer can do, but just a quick explanation of what the 3D printer actually does is that when you have an object in the game, all of the objects that are currently in the game are pre-made by our art team and to be able to be interacted with. But any type of new creation of objects previously in other live simulation games, you had to do it through modding. So, and I know that a lot of people who have attempted modding and have direly failed, like I did, understand that modding is not really is an easy feat for a lot of people out there. So what we provided with the 3D printer is an AI solution that we did where you can convert 2D images into 3D objects. And while I can go on and on about, how exactly that works, but just an easy explanation of how we do that using AI is that you have a flat 2D image, right? You have a flat 2D image, and what it does is that it looks at the 2D image and considers that as the front of the object. And what it does is that based on all the data learning that it has done and all the training that it has undergone, it uses that knowledge to say, if I have, let's say if I have the front view of a pancake, right? Pancake is a 3D object that goes all the way around and it has a plate probably underneath it, but it only has a front view of the pancake via a 2D image. But once we upload that to the 3D printer, what it does is that it predicts, based on its knowledge, it predicts what the 3D rendition of this 2D image is going to look like. So when it looks at the picture of a pancake, it probably understands that it's a pancake. So it makes a round shape and makes it a 3D that way, and it completes the plate to make it look like a 3D object. So that's a thing that we've always obviously kind of revealed through our videos on YouTube, so you guys can check that out. But with the 3D printer, we have made some improvements to make it more usable and make it more viable. And one thing that Leonard mentioned is that while previously you could create 3D objects and just kind of place it as a furniture and that be the end of it, now we can assign every little 3D object that we make into a certain category of furniture so that you can interact with it as you could do with pre-made objects.
Smart.
So this is something that probably isn't really well translated just in words, but
das ist cool.
Once you guys get into it and really try it out yourself, it's going to be really cool. So all the things that you want to
Also es gibt den 3D-Printer, der hat bei mir nicht funktioniert. Das bedeutet, dass du ein Bild hochlädst und von einem Objekt und das kann dann ins Spiel integriert werden. Das wird dann zu einem 3D-Objekt. Und das war vorher einfach so ein Möbelstück, was dann als Deko rumstand. Und jetzt könnt ihr dem Möbelstück auch eine Gameplay-Funktion geben. Also, dass man auch wirklich damit interagieren kann. Ein Stuhl kann ein Stuhl werden, dann setzen sich die ZOIs drauf und so weiter. Das ist ein easy Access für die Modder-Community. Also, wenn man halt selber nicht modden kann. Das ist sehr, sehr cool. Das ist smart.
So I'm explaining in very layman's terms on purpose because you think that we can make kind of a full-on outfits, but it's more like an attachable. So what we've seen some of our developers do with this new feature is that they made angel wings, right? They made angel wings. They made white angel wings and they made black devil wings. They did that and then they attached it to the back of their ZOI and, went around and did all the halos and all the other things to make an angel and a demon. And they created new characters that way. So 3D printers, we are making more utilizations for this and trying to make it more usable and more fun applications for all the things that we can do with this AI technology.
Also man kann damit nicht nur Objekte erstellen, sondern auch Sachen für den ZOI. Also hier haben sie Engelsflügel gemacht, dass man da halt modifizieren kann und sie quasi als Engel dann rumlaufen lässt. Also es ist nicht ein richtiger Okkult, aber dadurch ist es dekoriert okkultig.
The funny thing, a lot of you know that our publisher is Krafton, right? And Krafton, one of the games they're really famous for is PUBG. And I don't know if everyone here knows what PUBG is, but it's a battle royale game where you just kind of shoot people around, and that's what it
PUBG.
is. But why I mentioned this is that some of our developers here who tested out the 3D printer kind of got really creative and created something that we don't have natively in the game. So they created guns, right, using 3D printer, and because our data is trained from Krafton assets, it makes very, very good-looking guns. So, and what they did was they made a kind of soldier ZOI holding guns and kind of
Pistolen und so weiter haben.
And photo shoots with that. So we thought that was really funny. So you can have ZOIs hold guns. While it won't shoot, obviously, but you can definitely create that
Die können nicht schießen damit.
Within this game.
Aber sie werden gut aussehen, allein durch PUBG. Okay, cool.
Because Leonard said this and Eddie said this as well. It's really, you can really create anything you want in the game to kind of realize what you wanted to do in your world visually. So definitely, I would also recommend trying out the 3D printer as soon as you guys get the game and see, what kind of, wild, imaginative, creative worlds that you guys can make through this feature. All right. So next one.
Das ist schon krass, was dann möglich sein wird. Ganz ehrlich.
Oh, this was
Wenn das gut funktioniert.
Memory. So memory is once again in very simple terms is that when you have a pre-programmed NPC in a game, right, that you're not controlling, typically they don't have memory. What that means is that
NPCs haben keine Erinnerung.
With them about something, they usually give back their pre-programmed dialogue that matches the whatever question that you sent out, but that does not go into effect of what they will say later. When we have our normal conversations as humans, we remember the conversations that we've had in the past, and we can apply that into our future conversations, which will take into consideration of all the things that we previously talked about. So that is memory in a very simple explanation. But they were asking, will ZOIs have memories in early access? And our creative director, Alex, did mention that memory is not a feature that is not available quite yet because we just didn't have enough time to get through it quite yet.
Also Erinnerungssysteme gibt es noch nicht für NPCs.
Whether it's going to be called memory or it will have a different terminology behind it,
okay,
we will create something that is very much resembling of what people are wanting out of this memory system.
Sie arbeiten dran.
They will take into account past experiences and past interactions and past behaviors of different ZOIs so that in future interactions, they will be able to apply that information into making that conversation, that future conversation, future interactions more lifelike. So that's something that will be worked on in the future. And one thing he also wanted to mention is that while we don't have a quote-unquote memory system implemented quite yet, there is a recording system of significant events that have happened between two ZOIs. So if you married someone, that goes onto record, and if you divorced from that marriage, that also gets recorded as well. So significant events right now in our early access version will be recorded. So that will have some play into the game, but the full-on memory system is something that will be worked on at a later time.
Okay.
예, 참고로 이게 저희도 이제 만들면서 되게 아쉬운 부분이 이 부분이라.
그쵸.
네, 이게 이제 얘네들끼리 어떤 추억 같은 걸로 발현되는 행동들 이런 게 좀
Also so ein
나오면
besonderes
좀
Erinnerungssystem, dass die NPCs auch wissen, was um sie wirklich herum passiert ist und darauf auch basierend handeln. Gibt es noch nicht so significant Sachen, die ihr auslöst, wie heiraten und so weiter, das wissen sie alles. Aber daran arbeiten sie noch, dass es so wirklich kommt ins Spiel. Also es ist ein bisschen schwierig zu fassen, was genau sie damit meinen und in welchem Umfang das sein wird, aber sie arbeiten halt dran. Und ich denke mal, dass es dann entsprechend
wie
Erinnerungen sind und klug danach handeln, echt danach handeln.
Not sure if that's going to be the exact term that's going to be used in the game, but significant events that happen between different ZOIs that are sort of resembling of what memories can be. He wants to kind of use that as a foundation to build on sort of experiences that replicate kind of our memory applied
signifikante Events, die ihr auch nicht auslöst anscheinend. Die Hochzeiten können dann auch heiraten.
So it all could change, but right now his plan for the moment is to kind of use that as a base of using significant events that are recorded between different ZOIs and to kind of expand upon that to make it seem more like a memory. So we'll have to kind of stay tuned to see what that would look like. All right. So next question. Here's another question that Alex, our creative director, answered. inZOI's job system, how does that differ from different live simulation games?
inZOI Jobs?
The first thing that he mentioned is that the obvious difference is that we have active job system and not a rabbit hole. So
Active Jobs
really,
ist der große Unterschied, nicht Rabbit Hole.
Some other live simulation games kind of have it where you say you're going to work, and then you click that button, and what that usually does is that I'm not trying to provide any shade, because that's been a good solution for a lot of people for a long time. So but you just click that button, and it says that the character went to do their job, and you'll see them come back once again after the time has passed, and they'll come back and say they did their job, which is very much understandable as another solution, and very lightweight solution as well. But what our team did with inZOI is that we kind of took it to the next step of trying to make sure that even this job experience, which we think is a very, very important aspect of our everyday lives, like we're here right now doing our jobs, right? So, and it's a very significant part of what we do throughout the week. So we want to kind of create that experience in a more direct format with inZOI. So what we did was we created an active job system, is that it just doesn't say that it went to do its job and it came back after work saying, oh, I'm tired, I did my job. But it's more like you actually go to your workplace and you do the different things that are required of your job. And that's kind of the active system, the difference between that and a rabbit hole system that we implemented. That was the biggest difference that inZOI did. And he also wanted to mention a lot of the fun aspects that are related to jobs, is that when you go into your workplace, you can create new type of relationships that we'll go over a little bit in more detail later, but a different category of relationships and conversations that are only linked to this workplace environment. And we're calling that the business relationship and business conversations. Whenever you talk with colleagues, and whenever you go on an external business meeting for something, and then you'll be able to talk with them not for the objective of friendship or not with the objective of love. 근데 그 사업 얘기하다가 사랑으로 이어가시네. So I was half right about that. So you can start off with a business conversation, then that maybe can evolve to a love relationship, but that's another topic for another time. But anyways, so we have a separate category that's intended to be a more suitable conversation interactions for business related interactions. So we did that, and also there is a promotion system, where that if you do good in your job, in your current job that you applied for, and the company approves of your performance, you will be promoted to a higher position, which it will eventually lead to more money and higher income, and that's another way to make your ZOI become rich. And that's another thing that if that's something that's important for you guys, that's one of the ways to get there. 여기 또 물어보신 게 work from home jobs, 그 재택 가능한지.
Work from home jobs?
지금
Also was Sie eben gesagt haben, Active Jobs ist natürlich der größte Unterschied zu anderen Lebenssimulationen-Sims. Und dass, wenn man auf dem Workplace ist, dass es dann Business-Kommunikation gibt. Das haben wir auch beim Early Access schon gesehen, beziehungsweise was ich hatte, diese Play-Session, dass es 3 Kommunikationsarten gibt. Freundschaftlich, Liebe und Business. Und das hat sich so angehört, dass es dann exklusiv für Business-Leute dann ist, also wenn man damit interagiert.
The answer to that question is that right now us here, we sometimes work from home in the case that we need it. We're very flexible that way, but I think that was what most people were asking for. But so when you're kind of going to the company and going to the office to work, and that's the default state of you working, and having occasional days of working from home, that's not a feature that's available in inZOI. But what Alex and the team did make is that he made some freelance positions.
Freelance
position is that you don't have an office to go to. You don't have a company that you're a part of, but you can do things that are very
Freelance gibt es,
so you can do work at
aber keine Homeoffice-Tage.
With the objective of making money out of it. And one example that he gave was an author, right? 그냥 그 책 쓰는 사람. Because you can be an author, right? You can be an author to write books, and if you're writing really well and you're highly skilled at that writing skill, your book will likely sell much higher at a much higher rate, allowing you to get that money through that different route rather than just going to the office every day from the 9 to 6 and trying to earn money that way. So there are different ways to make monies, and there are different, I guess, categories of jobs in inZOI already in this early access, and I'm sure this will be much more expanded with future updates. All right. Next question. So I'll apologize in advance because this was intended to be a funny question by the person that asked it, but I don't think I did a good job of translating into Korean. So these guys, when they were answering, they answered it very seriously. So with that in mind, I'll just go and say the answer. So the question was asking, will we be able to build a shrine for our Almighty God Psycat and have ZOI sacrifices in his honor? That was the question, right? And I don't think it translated very well in terms of getting it to them in Korean. And I'll read out the answers exactly how they answered it. I thought that was
Psychic shrine.
Took it really, really seriously. So Alex said it is impossible. But if you wanted to, you could make you could do a build mode. You could do a build mode of creating whatever shrine you thought was in your head. You can obviously use 3D printers and all of our AI tools to make it more like a holy shrine, right? And then to make sacrifices to a ZOI, we don't have that ability.
Man kann keine ZOIs sacrifice, okay?
Visualize it and make use different features of the game to make it. Yes, Alex said no. So no, but you can make it. You can kind of create that scene to make it look like you're doing that thing.
Okay, man kann es nachstellen, aber
Eddie also happened to answer the question.
Erstmal ein Psycat, Alter, machen.
So this is important information. So
Und
that one
opfern.
thing that I also didn't know is that originally with our lore of inZOI, Psycat was actually, I guess he was designated to. 네, Psycat이 여자죠. Sorry. So Psycat is a she, by the way. So Psycat was originally designated to be the role of a god. So that was actually the original lore. I don't know if the person who asked the question knew that fact, but so she was originally kind of taking that role of being a god, right? But we changed up that.
Psycat hätte eigentlich eine Göttin sein sollen.
Psycat is no longer a god, but is also
Ist aber nicht mehr.
it's just one of your supervisors at
Sondern
AR
einfach
company.
nur eure Supervisor
So that's
davon.
kind of how the storyline has changed a bit, but just interesting information for people who might have been
Witzig.
interested. So
Psycat
no
hätte
longer a
ein Gott
god,
sein,
used
ist
to
ein
be a
Gott
god.
für mich. Eine
So
Göttin.
so Psycat is an ex-god. So that's kind of how
Ex-god?
you guys can take that.
Degradiert.
That way. Yeah, so a lot of people saying she's still a god in my soul.
Psycat.
So a lot of people Psycat. Psycat was demoted. I don't know if you can call it that, but definitely whatever interpretation you guys want to make with that change in storyline, you're free to do so. All right. Next question. Okay, so we're getting a little bit technical here. Person that asked this question, I'm sure this person is a game developer who asked this. They asked, because this game was made using Unreal Engine 5, what are some of the graphical and sort of the kind of the realism aspects that you found to be advantageous because you use Unreal Engine 5 compared to the other engines? And naturally, Eddie, our director, did provide the answers for it. And he provided 3 components, which I know some of them and some I don't know as well. But I'll read out his answer as written. So first thing he mentioned was Lumen. And how many people in chat know what Lumen is, or at least have heard of it? Lumen is how the light is reflected onto different objects and how it kind of reflects onto different angles, making it more realistic, like how we have in this real world, right? So people who don't understand kind of how light works is that right now I'm gonna go over to the webcam, right? I'm gonna go over to the webcam.
Nur kurz, die Frage geht um die Unreal Engine 5, was quasi die Vorteile sind und 3 Komponenten davon. Und er erklärt das gerade. Das erste Ding ist das Lumen, also das Licht, wie es reflektiert wird, dass es halt realistisch ist. Und das erklärt er gerade.
It's not capturing the object, but it's capturing the light that is reflected on the object. So when I covered up that webcam earlier, you see the hand, but you're not really seeing anything because there's no light that is reflected on my hand because I was covering it up. So kind of understanding it that way, it's much easier to understand what Lumen is actually doing, is that it's recording all the very realistic replications of what we see in the real world in terms of light reflecting on different objects. And because that's a lot of work that's to be done on a graphical level, that allows the game to be much more heavier as a result, and which gives Eddie and Leonard also here a lot of work optimization. So we created that load for ourselves, obviously to do more optimization work in the future. But we thought that the trade-off was worth it because having Lumen be really prioritized in inZOI, we thought it really contributed to the realistic look and feel of what inZOI can provide graphically. So that's one of the first thing that was mentioned. And the second one was nanite, and this is something that less people I'm sure are aware of. Nanite is a thing where it selectively renders in a very efficient manner, so that when you have all these different objects that you see on the screen, and if you are to render every single element that you see on the screen, that will make it very, very heavy and in return very, very inefficient. So what Nanite does, it makes calculations as to what is the thing that should be rendered first and should be rendered accurately in high quality, so that when we look at it from visually, because when we look at something with our eyes, we're not always looking at the entire screen. We're always trying to look at the important things and the first things that comes to our eyes. So what Nanite does is it makes those smart calculations to make sure that the things that you should be focusing on gets rendered, and all the computation priorities go towards that, and all the other elements that are less important doesn't use as much computational power to render it. So as a result, what happens is that it becomes the weight of that computation becomes much, much less, because you're not rendering every single thing on the screen at the exact same the highest quality possible. So having Nanite as a native feature of Unreal Engine 5 once again was helped us not only graphically but also in terms of the optimization to make sure that we're allowed to show more high fidelity graphics that way. Yes, it's an optimization solution, but why we answer it as a question to the graphics is that the more optimization we can accomplish, the better graphics we can provide. So you have to think of it as the add and subtract. And when you try to have more and more better graphics, it adds on to the load. But the only way you can kind of render this properly on normal computers that you guys all have is to make sure to do the optimization, cutting out all the unnecessary computational powers, so that it becomes lightweight, which gives Eddie more room to improve the graphics and make it more realistic looking. So it's always, you have to kind of do the adding and subtracting of trade-offs to make sure you can provide as much as you want. So in order to do that, you have to make the optimization and always continuous effort. Yeah. Okay, and the last one was a thing that we talked about earlier, but it's a MetaHuman product that's based on a facial rig, and you guys probably know the MetaHuman for our facial tracking, but it kind of goes on a more general basis of us being able to kind of rig. How do you explain rigging? So rigging is you're programming how certain objects on a different objects attaches and how it moves along with it, so that it moves as not 5 different objects but one combined object. So rigging can be explained very easily that way. Some of you know what rigging is, but others don't, so I'm trying to explain it very, very easily. So yes, bone and muscles. Yeah, so those are very, very basic qualities. So trying to make that all move kind of as naturally as possible. This is something that Eddie mentioned, but also I think is very important, is that in a game that looks this realistic, and we have things that, basically characters and the world looking exactly like what we see in the real world, it's very, very easy for the look and feel to look very uncanny. So what I mean by that is it looks super realistic in terms of the graphical fidelity, but because we can see that it's not so natural and it looks fake, it becomes scary as a result. So we wanted to make sure that all the expressions and all the things that inZOI and the characters do become as natural as possible, to make it not so uncanny, was a very important thing for us. And that facial rigging environment that was provided by MetaHuman was extremely helpful to get that way. All right.
Okay.
So the next one.
Ich beantworte das gleich nochmal.
Okay.
Fasse das gleich zusammen, wenn die andere Frage nochmal raufgeht.
So, is there an intended storytelling or storyline that the team wanted to offer?
Storyline
to
vom
players
Team?
compared to the kind of the allowing that freedom for players to create their own stories. So, what's the balance between the two? Was the question. And surprisingly, I thought Alex would have answered this question, but actually Eddie took the role of answering this question of how much story we provide as developers. And he mentioned that we tried to include only the bare minimum of what we thought was essential for players to understand what this world of inZOI is supposed to represent. So you have, characters like Psycat, and you'll probably meet characters like Henry, who's our HR manager of AR Company. Meet those few characters, and Bora, the beautiful girl that you see in all of our posters. So these are all these essential characters that we don't want to expand too much on, but just kind of provide as a minimum so that people understand, oh, this is what inZOI is, and this is what my role is within this game. So to provide the bare minimum for that foundation, but to everything else above that, we want to provide as much freedom to the players as possible, so that they can provide and they can create all the different stories that they want using this game. So what's predefined is very, very little from our end, but very intentional. So that all of you who are going to be playing this game can create your own original stories with the most freedom that you can have as possible.
Also Unreal Engine Frage nochmal, die 3 Komponenten, weswegen es cool ist mit Unreal Engine 5, ist die Lumen-Geschichte, also die Lichtreflexion, Nanite, dass verschiedene Objekte anders mit der Priorität gerendert werden. Das bedeutet, dass einfach die Rechenleistung optimiert werden kann, und MetaHuman, dass die entsprechenden ZOIs dann auch realistisch aussehen und entsprechende Facial Bones haben, also dass die dann realistisch aussehen. Storylines vom Team vorgegeben oder Freiheit vom Spieler ist, dass die Storyline vom Team sehr minimal gehalten ist, also beispielsweise Psycat und so weiter, die Lore dahinter, das ich ja auch schon mal beleuchtet habe. Das ist vorgegeben, einfach ein Grundgerüst, dass ihr versteht, was ist inZOI, was soll diese Welt, aber ansonsten seid ihr frei.
They're appropriate to their current surrounding situation. So that, in a nutshell, they were asking that, could you apply the smart ZOI technology to animals as well? While right now it's only applied to the human characters of ZOIs, can we apply them to animals in the future? So I thought that was a very, very smart question, and our technical director, Leonard, he came up with an answer which I thought was really good. So he said, we're also in agreement with this, that we don't want to limit the smart ZOI technology not just to the human character ZOIs, but also to every living element within the city. So this thing can include animals and everything that's living, that has life, that can, be adaptable and act differently based on different situations. We want to apply that smart ZOI technology to every living thing within the city in ZOI as possible. But so smart plants, 혹시 식물도 나중에 뭐 생각하시는 거예요? So plants is not in the, so you gotta convince him that. So mention smart plants, so that right now he doesn't think that. Anyway, so he definitely has that in the plans, but right now, as you might have noticed in the promotional video that we published through NVIDIA, is that this is a very, very early stage in the development of smart ZOI. So we are working with NVIDIA and obviously working with our AI department to make sure that smart ZOI can become this final version of you may be able to make this very, very realistic world with all these people interacting that's appropriate to what's going around them. So that would be the ideal world that we want to kind of make as an end goal. But right now it's in a very, very early stage. So all the kind of the experiments and the testing are being done to the human ZOIs. So any type of other animals and other living things that are around the city, we'll have to kind of take that as a later priority after we've already completed.
Okay, mit NVIDIA gibt es ja die Smart ZOIs, die sie auch mal in der Promotion hatten, dass also quasi alle ZOIs entsprechend realistisch interagieren, dass sie so ein eigenes Leben führen und so. Und das soll nicht nur auf ZOIs komprimiert werden, sondern alle Lebenobjekte, also auch Tiere und so weiter. Aber der Fokus liegt erstmal auf ZOIs.
I don't know how many people will know what this is. So another question about modding, and one thing before I go over this question, I want to see how many mods that we have in chats. I want to see how much this would actually apply to. Looking at chat now, so I see me, I'm a modder here, modder. Okay, we have enough people. Okay, we have enough people that we can answer this question. So one of the modders who asked this question was asking, when you were writing up the script for your mods for inZOI, did you use Lua, and how much of Lua was involved in writing that code? And,
Lua, keine Ahnung, damit kann ich nichts
and another
anfangen.
question they asked was,
Für Modding-Sachen.
will we have the ability to create as a variety of different mods, not just for clothing, but just a wide array of things within the game, using a mod, and will you make it available to have that environment that way? And so Leonard naturally answered this question and said there's actually an update that he wanted to kind of get out to the players. Originally, he also used Lua to write up the script for the modding environment for inZOI, but due to different calculations and different kind of going over the different elements of what Lua can do, he actually changed over the system from Lua, and he changed it over to the Unreal Blueprint. And I'm sure, while I'm not aware of what that is, maybe our modders here in chat Blueprint is. So we changed the system overall to not use Lua any longer, but to go with Unreal Blueprints instead. And he thought that that would be the better choice moving forward into the future. So yeah, so with that, that's been changed. And now that that has been changed that way, obviously to thinking that that will provide the better results for our modders in the long term, he did say that there are some complications in terms of how that Unreal Blueprint system is set up, is that we want to provide as much as we can for customization using mods for the players out there, so they can you can edit and change all these different elements about the game. And he wants to open that up as much as possible. But due to the native restrictions of Unreal Blueprint in terms of security and in terms of how their regulations are set up, he will do the maximum of what he can provide within this criteria, but there will be some natural limitations as to what he will be able to provide. So just saying that from Leonard's standpoint, with what's available from Unreal Blueprint, he's going to try to provide as much as possible so that modders will be able to customize as many parts about the game to have a very, very customizable experience. And he also wanted to mention that he provides some guide documents and easy-to-use tools, which I think he's going to call wizards, to be able to allow modders to kind of do their projects in a little bit more efficient and easier manner. So trying to provide as much support as he can is definitely one of his goals in the future.
Okay.
Alright.
Ist halt interessant, ob sie sofort die Modding-Community einbeziehen, sofort beim Release von Early Access.
We had some multiple technical questions, so once again, I'm just kind of reading not reading, but I'm sure the people in chat will know. So I did my mod check in chat just a little bit earlier, but this next question is about graphical design and the art assets. So how many art asset aficionados and experts do we have in here? Just want to check to make sure that we're not wasting a lot of people's time. We see a lot of yups. We see a lot of me hi. Okay, so we'll say enough. We'll say it's enough. So the question was asking, when I was playing the character studio back in August when we provided that demo to everyone, they noticed that the customizability of the male characters versus the female characters felt very different. So they thought that the male characters were very limited in comparison to what you can customize with the female characters. So they were assuming that maybe they were using different meshes for female and male characters. And then they went on with the question to say, if so, could you go with single mesh solutions like DAZ 3D to make it more easier to convert directly from the male characters to the female characters, and obviously make it more easier to go from child all the way to adulthood and have that be a much easier solution? Would you prefer that option in the future, was the question. And Eddie was very solid about his statement about this and said that so the first observation that you had with the male character and the female character having difference in customizability was not due to our intentional rendition, but we try to make sure that when you're customizing a male character, that certain features that promote aesthetic pleasingness of creating a male character is emphasized, and with that becomes very different to what you can aesthetically emphasize in a female character. So, working with different body parts and working with different aspects of the character, it obviously will feel different because we want to make sure that whatever you're customizing, you get the best result out of it. So it's been programmed to do that a little bit differently, but it's not because it's been using different meshes. So he went on to say is that you mentioned DAS and other that we could use in inZOI, but he already kind of reviewed that concept earlier in development and said that just resorting to single mesh solutions, it does not meet our quality goals of providing a very beautiful and very customizable character, and that the quality level didn't match up to what they really wanted for the game. So while the easy factor would have been applied when you go with single mesh solution, he wanted to mention that was not the priority for them. He wanted to mention that he wanted to provide as beautiful app characters when you're customizing them as much as possible. So the single mesh solutions like DAS wasn't in consideration.
Okay, also was gesagt wurde ist, wenn ihr männliche ZOIs erstellt, gibt es einen Unterschied zu den weiblichen ZOIs in der Freiheit quasi alles zu modifizieren. Und dann wurde technisch gefragt, dass man vielleicht noch andere Meshes und so weiter herstellen könnte. Aber interessant war, dass es quasi per Choice ist, also dass man das modifizieren kann. Anders ist es aus ästhetischen Gründen. Einfach damit beispielsweise das ästhetische männliche im Fokus stehen kann und das weibliche und dass die daran jetzt zumindest, wie ich das rausgehört habe, nicht arbeiten, dass es da irgendwie Unterschiede geben wird in Zukunft. Vielleicht ja was für Modder.
How wide of an array of you can make the inZOI's body has been very, very narrow. So that's one way to express it. So people are saying that there's only a very small gap to how big or how small you can make your ZOI's
Die
body.
Körperform der
And that's
ZOIs.
been the complaint that we received last year during that Gamescom time. And he wanted to mention that we have made significant improvements to make sure
Auswahl.
that the ZOI can be expressed at a much wider expressibility. So, you can make the ZOI a lot bigger than you used to. And obviously, to make it skinnier than you used to, you can also have that route. But the range in how big or small you can make your ZOI
Geht
has
also
been very
größer,
much improved
also
on his end.
dicker
But it also
und
has
schlanker.
to go into notice that as a result of doing that, there are instances where we have pixels kind of sticking out of objects. Let's as an example.
Pixelfehler.
And you have these instances that are not obviously intended, but were kind of the side effect of being able to make ZOIs very, very big. You have these instances where we have pixel spills and things that don't look as natural, but that's kind of the choice that they made, that even though they kind of have that little drop in quality in terms of that aspect, providing that more customizability and flexibility for the players when customizing their character, he thought that was the more important thing. So he took that sacrifice just a little bit to make sure they can provide that for you guys. For this question, this was one of the things that I was asked. What are you able to do together collectively as family? So,
Was kann man zusammen
as
als
many of you
Familie
know,
machen?
we can do many things by yourself with your one single ZOI.
Genau.
But to
Aber
be
ein
able
Fokus
to
auf
do
ein ZOI
things
allein.
together with other ZOIs, and especially with family
Zusammen mit
members,
anderen.
has been a highly requested feature ever since our release. Is that's kind of the question, and Alex, our creative director, did answer this question and said that right now there aren't a lot of interactions that you can do together
Noch
with
nicht
family
viele
members.
zusammen.
But something that they will definitely build upon even after early access launch. So while initially when you get into the game in March, you might feel a little bit underwhelmed of how many available family interactions are there and group activities there are there. But it's something that will be continually being added by our creative team and also all of our other teams that are related to that to make sure that you can do more stuff with your family. And he wanted to mention right now, some of the things that you can do is that your child can go up to his or her parents and say, can you wash my clothes, and ask them to do the laundry for you. So that's something that would be very unnatural if the kid who's like, this tall goes over to the laundry machine and takes off their clothes and puts down the laundry machine and starts the button and knows exactly what. That would be very unnatural. So I think some of the priorities that he took was that, he wanted to create these cute moments where the kid asked their parents to do the laundry for them. Yeah.
Man kann zu den Eltern gehen als inZOI und quasi hier, bitte wasch mir meine Wäsche machen, dieses typische Studentending. Witzige Interaktion.
So instead of the kid going to the kitchen, wearing the chef's apron and taking out the fry pan and doing this Michelin star cooking by himself as a kid and preparing his own table and enjoying the music and have a fine dining that way. So that's not going to happen, right? So the kid will ask their parents to cook the food for them and give them food. So,
okay, die Kinder können halt dann auch entsprechend nicht krass kochen, sondern fragen die Eltern.
Together with family, but once again, with more features to be added on at a later date. Oh, okay, here we are. The reason why these guys are laughing is, once again, this has been translated as accurately as possible so they understand the weight of this question. But to answer it properly was a task for us. I think both of these guys, Eddie and Alex, spent about 5 minutes each coming up with what's the best answer for this. So the question was, and I'm trying to keep this stream very PG, right? I'm not. We have people from all age groups coming into here, and I want to reword the question. I'm not gonna as is because that would not be appropriate in a PG setting. So let me reword it in the best of my abilities. In inZOI, will you be able to have interactions that for the purpose of creating babies?
Techtelmechtel, kann man Techtelmechtel haben?
Yeah. Yes. So that was a question very much asked differently, but pretty much means the same thing. Okay. So.
저희가 호주에서는 전체 이용가를 받았다.
네. 그것도 최근에 바뀌었죠.
최근에 전체 이용가.
전체 이용가 받았어요? So the answer is very it's very straightforward. So what happened is that inZOI, the game itself, when we're getting, a lot of you probably are from North America, so you're probably aware of the ESRB ratings and different regions. For example, Europe has their own different rating system. Even Australia has their own different rating system. Korea has their rating system.
Alterseinstufung geht's gerade rum.
Different regions around the world have different rating system, and we wanted to mention that we weren't initially targeting the adult audience when we were creating inZOI. We wanted to try to provide a game that was suitable for as wide of an age group as possible. So in terms of that question, the intention of having a baby, that interaction, is that possible in inZOI? That was the question, and our answer is sort of. Sort of is I think it's the best way to do it. So
quasi gibt es was.
There is a feature in the game that you obviously know that what's happening is that the male ZOI and the female ZOI together and likely in bed with the intention of creating babies, right? So that's out there. But how visually apparent is that? How visually apparent is that? I think it's the more important question, and that's where you kind of have to go to your imagination. You sort of have to imagine what you're seeing is not what you're seeing, but you have to assume that's what's happening. Is that clear enough for everyone? So
also Techtelmechtel gibt es nicht in der normalen Form.
Maybe not to the level that everyone probably
visuell gesehen.
So,
man kann es aber erahnen oder so. Modder freuen sich.
Everybody else what's going on? I have to really word it. I have to be really and I have to make sure I don't say anything inappropriate. So you guys get it, right? You guys get it. Okay, so let's skip over to the next question. Sorry that I was very beating around the bush so much because I had to. Okay. The next one. Oh, this is another thing that people were asking. So in terms of the stage of pregnancy and raising a child, especially when the newborn is born, is newly birthed, what type of gameplay is available right now in early access? Because previously, when they saw videos related to that, there weren't many things you were able to do when you were pregnant, and there weren't a lot of things that you could do.
Man konnte
when
nicht
the
viel
newborn
machen, wenn man schwanger ist oder wenn die neugeboren sind.
So Alex, our creative director, did answer this and say that compared to our previous versions of the game that a lot of people would be aware of, familiar with, he said that there's a lot more interactions now in this early access version to what you can do while a ZOI is pregnant. So some of the examples that he gave was that you can tell your friends that you got pregnant. So
Freunde erzählen, dass man schwanger ist.
And you guys can have parties that way. So that's another thing you can do. And okay, 입덧. It's a very common term in Korea. I don't know if there's an English term for this. So 입덧 is no, that's not baby shower. It's not baby shower. 입덧 is if a woman gets pregnant, I think it's due to the hormonal changes that they struggle with eating the typical foods that they used to like.
The cravings.
Kind of seek food that is specifically
Cravings.
Specifically something that they want at that time. Cravings? Is that what they call it? Just cravings? Oh, okay.
Er lernt auch was dazu.
입덧이 is craving이라고. 뭐 전 세계적으로 다 있을 텐데. Oh, so cravings, yes. So that's the word I was looking for. So yes, so you'll have these instances of cravings that wasn't there before, but just to kind of add to the realism of a person being pregnant at the time and just kind of coming up with all these interactions that make it more immersive that way. Yeah. And also he wanted to mention that there are more things that you could do with a newborn baby, but probably not to the extent of what many people are wanting at this stage. So this is, once again, that fell a little bit down the priorities because they wanted to focus on adding other elements of the game first. But definitely he understands the importance of being
also Newborns sind noch nicht so wirklich implementiert, so viel Interaktion.
To make that kind of the raising a child experience more pleasing. So that's definitely in the works, and he wanted to provide an excuse as to why to add as many things as he would have liked. Is that kind of the body structure of babies being so small compared to even right after the teenage stage, you start getting fully grown up men and women ZOIs, right? So because their body structure is so small, having to come up with these very unique interactions just for this body type was something that was very, very heavy in terms of their load, the development load. So something that really what made it difficult for them to add a lot of things, but definitely will be in the plans in the long run. So just don't be too disappointed when you want to do a lot of things with right from early access. It won't be as prevalent, but in the long run, you'll be able to see more things improve.
Also Familiengameplay ist auf jeden Fall noch nicht so komplett drin im Early Access. Also es ist sehr limitiert, so wie sich das anhört.
Oh, okay. I thought this was a kind of a scary question for me because I knew how this was, but Leonard did a very good job answering this. So one person asked that the driving mechanics of cars in inZOI seem to be very unnatural. So, it obviously seemed like a video game when they played this, and they were kind of expecting to the levels of the specific game that they mentioned was GTA and Beam Engine.
Fahren der Autos wirkt GTA-mäßig.
Those games as can you have a very beefy, really realistic driving mechanics in the game for inZOI as well.
Realistische Mechanik.
저도 걱정했어요.
근데 이거는 GTA 두 게임은 사실 인조이와 약간 방향성이
다르죠.
다르고 인조이는 약간 사실적인 운전보다는 나중
그쵸.
이쁘게 꾸미거나 쇼핑 간다 그런 컨텐츠적으로 활용되는.
So Eddie kind of came up with the answer on this. He said, as inZOI was designed to be a very, very different game from the likes of GTA, where driving and being in the car is one of the core experiences of the game and the core objectives of the game. He thought that the priorities were a little bit less with inZOI in terms of the actual driving experience, but more to do with kind of customizing your car and making it look all pretty. That's something that he will definitely work on in the future, but that's why he thought personally that maybe the driving mechanics was less of a priority for inZOI. But with that, I will read out Leonard's pre-written answer to this question.
Es hat weniger Priorität jetzt.
The reason why we couldn't add more advanced mechanics for driving in inZOI is that currently we are working on a simulation for the city where not only do you have the ZOIs that appear on the screen being simulated, but you have every ZOI that is off screen. So we have up to 300 ZOIs maximum at a time in a city. Have all those ZOIs be constantly simulated and have their own stories being developed, regardless of whether they're on your screen or not. So yeah, so that's a lot of computational work that they're obviously implemented, but also have been optimizing to get that smoothly for all of you guys out there. So because that was a priority, to have very complex mechanics for cars being implemented, in addition to that community simulation is what we call it for all the ZOIs in the city being simulated, was too much of a load at this time. So while it might not be the direct solution to what people are wanting with the realistic mechanics, he will think of a different way to improve this experience so that it doesn't feel clunky. So one of the things that he's thinking about is that, I thought this was actually brilliant, is that he wanted to kind of use, 어떻게 보면 나나이트랑 살짝 개념은 비슷한 거네요. 그러니까 가까이 있는 건 조금 더 이제 하고 이제 멀리 있는 건 조금 더 덜 신경.
시뮬레이션으로.
그렇죠, 시뮬레이션적으로. 네. So I thought this was really brilliant. He prioritized the accuracy of simulation, the quality of simulation for cars that are nearby where you are, so that the things that once again I'm tracking back to the nanite theory, is that the things you see should be the most important, and the things that you don't see can be deprioritized a little bit. So he kind of was thinking of a similar concept where the simulation for how the car moves around you can be prioritized for the cars that are close to you, and the cars that are far away from you can use less computational power to make sure that what you see on the screen is a much better output of that experience. So hopefully that's that.
Also die Autos fahren halt noch ein bisschen clunky, weil einfach der Fokus mehr auf den ZOIs liegt, dass die entsprechend priorisiert werden, auch im Hintergrund mit bis zu 300 ZOIs, die in dieser Welt leben können. Sie arbeiten an den Autos und fokussieren sich darauf, dass das Auto quasi neben einem im Fokus quasi besser gerendert werden und besser aussehen.
Is that they were asking whether they were right now you can build houses and you can build different buildings around the city, but the person was asking, can you build a whole new city from scratch? So with nothing, just a plain
Ob man eine neue Welt bauen kann.
And then you can start to build different elements and build cities that way. So that was the question, right? And then and Leonard mentioned from a technical standpoint, right now, as you know, you can create, you can edit the city in very, very different ways, in various ways, so that it almost feels like you're creating your own customized city. But in the terms of, because he understood what exactly that person was asking, is that to create a city from scratch, it's just too much of a load from a competition standpoint. So that
geht noch nicht, beziehungsweise ist zu
right
viel.
now becomes very, very difficult, that they don't want
Ist
to
noch nicht
step into
möglich.
those areas quite yet. So unfortunately, he says there isn't a good answer for that he can provide at the moment, because right now he doesn't feel that there will come a stage where we have this very, very large space city. And a lot of you haven't played the game. You probably only seen videos of the game, so you guys might not realize how big each of the cities are. So once you get into the game when it releases on early access for March, when you get into the game and you go into the cities, you start realizing how gigantic all the maps are. So with that knowledge, you'll have a better understanding of why this answer makes sense. Is that creating a brand new city from scratch with that large of area mass just doesn't seem like a thing that can be optimized enough to be provided to the players. So from our official support of the game, we definitely will not be able to provide that. So that's kind of an unfortunate no.
Okay,
in terms of
also
that
nein.
question.
Eine Stadt von Grund aufzubauen soll nicht funktionieren.
공원 같은 넓은
Einfach weil die Karten zu groß sind. Es wird halt interessant sein, ob das Modder hinbekommen. Und einfach, dass die Karte kleiner wird. Also so eine richtige Welt wie beispielsweise in Sims 3 oder halt natürlich auch Sims 2 soll nicht möglich sein.
So these are very optimistic additional points that the Alex and Eddie put out, is that kind of what I mentioned earlier with being able to edit different parts of the city. Once again, this will feel more kind of convincing when you actually get into the game, is that there are more places than you probably think that you can edit within the city that really can make it feel that you're customizing an entire city.
Genau, also man kann die Stadt jetzt sowieso modifizieren.
So that was one thing, and
in Teilen.
Eddie mentioned that while it's not something that we can kind of confirm from our official side of things, but just kind of how computation always works, when we look back in history, it improves at such a rapid pace. Is that right now, NVIDIA released their 5090, right? And that's all the crazy, the news and all the people are saying, wow, this is the craziest thing ever. But even with that, this pace and this kind of the rate of how technology goes up and it gets advanced, it just goes at a very, very rapid rate. So right now in this 2025 moment that we're here, we don't see a situation where you can customize and where you can create a brand new city from scratch. But with improvements in computation in the future later on, maybe we'll get a situation where we can provide that feature without much scare, and that people will be able to handle that.
Okay, also gerade ist es einfach nicht technisch möglich, eine eigene Welt von Null aus zu beginnen, aber sie können sich vorstellen, dass es eventuell in Zukunft passiert. Also sie schließen jetzt nicht aus oder so.
Because I see a lot of people in chat who are saying that can you just answer the questions that are come up on chat, and we so let me go over one more question and then two more questions. Promise, two more questions, and then we'll go to the live questions for about 10 minutes, okay? The first question, I thought this was a really interesting one too. A lot of you may have noticed through our inZOI videos that our influencers published on YouTube, you would have seen that when the ZOI takes a shower or takes a bath, they don't go in fully naked, and then the private parts are blurred out, but they go in wearing a towel, and that's blurred out, and that's a real deal breaker for a lot of people, saying this is not very realistic. No one does that in real life. No one wears a towel around their waist and goes into the bath for that towel to get soaking wet, and you have to come back out, and you somehow get this drenched towel dried up again. Some people say they do this in real life. I don't believe you. This is a very, very once again, I'm also in disagreement with how this planned out, but they were wondering why do you have to go this route and not just pixelate everything that needs to be blurred out, so that it feels realistic that you're taking a shower naked, and but you don't really cause any trouble for any censorship issues. So Eddie mentioned that I thought this was that was very important that I didn't really think of, but I'm starting to understand why that's the case, is that when you have other games who can take that route of just blurring out the private parts when they go into shower and when they go into take a bath, or even just use the toilet, right? You have to see all that, but with this being blurred out, everything's okay. It's possible because the graphics are not intentionally realistic. So some games take the cartoony route, and some games may take the realistic route, but obviously the graphics doesn't look that realistic. So that when you have those blurred motion, blurred kind of overlay over those parts, is that it looks acceptable. It looks okay. But once you have characters that look as realistic as you have in inZOI, what happens is that when we can apply that exact same blur overlay over in that instance, but what happens is that it becomes very, very realistic in the wrong way. So like it becomes very, very it can become very, very sexually suggestive because of how realistic it looks. And just if you can visualize it in your head, it provokes a different reaction out of people when it looks so realistic and you have that blur motion, and compared to when something looks obviously cartoonish and completely fake, but with that blur motion, it looks completely acceptable. So that level of seriousness that is kind of added on with the graphics being so realistic is the reason why he can't just put a blur overlay, and that being, that going about, especially with the age ratings that we were talking about, we wanted to provide a game that was widely available to as many age groups as possible. So he thought that once we add those blur motion, and I'm sure he tried it as well. He tried it. 직접 해보시긴 했죠. 보셨나요? 그게 블러만 쳤을 때 어떻게?
Also es ist momentan so, dass wenn eure ZOIs beispielsweise duschen gehen, dass sie dann so ein Handtuch haben. Und es ist vorher pixelig, aber nicht komplett. Und das ist so, dass sie sagen, es ist zu realistisch, wenn es nur blurry wäre. Und dann wäre es sexual suggestive, dass man da ein bisschen, keine Ahnung, was dahinter dichtet. Und deswegen haben sie das nicht gemacht. Und es wird mit dem Handtuch bleiben, wenn die ZOIs in die Dusche gehen.
블러가 반사 안 되는 버그가 있기 때문에.
So another point. So that's the main point why he couldn't go with blurs. But another funny thing that he wanted to mention. So he said there was a bug that he, in the end, wasn't able to fix. Is that so the blur you see when you're looking directly at the character, but when the character is reflected on a mirror object. So like in the furniture you have mirrors, right? So when you have a mirror
Wenn es dann Spiegelung gibt.
in your bathroom, right? The blur does not follow. So that was an unfortunate situation that
Ja, also wenn sie verpixelt sind und wenn es dann Spiegelungen gibt im Bad beispielsweise, ja, dann hat es nicht auf die Spiegelung gewirkt. Heißt, man hat die dann nackig gesehen. Guter Fehler.
Not the best alternative of wearing a towel as you go into the tub or go to the shower booth. But he's definitely open to your thoughts as to what would be a good solution, knowing that we can't just blur out the parts and be okay with the age rating system. What would be a good alternative, knowing that towel obviously
Vielleicht Nipple-Patches oder sowas ähnliches?
So we'll take about 1 minute here and just look at maybe what your solutions are. Swimwear. No one wears a swimwear to the shower. Towel, Underwear, okay.
Ja, ich würde auch sagen, Underwear-Patches vielleicht. Vor allem bei Frauen.
블랙박스 아예 까맣게.
까맣게 그냥 소리 들어.
Ja, Nude Underwear finde ich auch gut.
뭐 여러 가지 한번
검토해 보시고. Bubbles. 그러니까 버블, 무두두두 거품처럼 나오게.
Das ist auch eine gute Idee.
Fog is the same thing as basically 그 거울을 아예 샤워하는 동안 뭐 하는 데는 아예 그냥 뿌연하게. 아니 어차피 그 뜨거운 물이 나니까 그 스팀으로 그 어차피 거울이 안
Duckies.
거울이 안 보이게 바꾼다.
거품은
네.
어쨌든 필리한 거품 나올 거 아니에요.
그렇죠. 그럼 칠해야 돼.
처음부터
그렇죠. 거품은 아닌 것 같아요. 그 거울 같은 그 버그가 있었던 거는 아예 그냥 샤워를 시작했다. 그러면 이제 그 거울이 이제 안 보이는 거죠. 뿌연해가지고.
구현해 주세요.
So I mentioned
Cycle Sensor.
makes sense. As soon as the game turns out, you turn the hot water on and the steam's coming out, and then even in real life, even in real life, you see our mirrors kind of fog up and you can't really see anything. So that's what's thing. But some people say the towel does not bug them. I am bugged by it, so I hope that we can find a good alternative for it. So hopefully we can provide more solutions in the future that and with obviously with your suggestions. Once you start playing the game, guys, from March 28th, we'll have a space open where you can send in all of your suggestions, and then you can give us all the things that you want out of the game, and we'll read into it, and then try to apply as much as possible.
Finde ich cool.
Okay, someone said walk into the shower with the towel in hand, close the shower door, and then throw the towel over the shower. Start shower. Now, that almost seems perfect, and it looks even better because it was written in large text for everyone to see. But the only caveat to that is that we have free camera controls. So you can put the towel over the shower booth and think that that's okay. But what happens is that you can control the camera. You can control the camera to look over the shower booth, and you can see everything. And so while it's almost perfect, there is a imperfection that doesn't allow us to do that. So yeah, we had this brief discussion. Definitely fill that out in the suggestions if you're the anti-towel gang that we have here. And that's including me. Try to provide all the good suggestions to see what we can do to make that experience a little bit more realistic. All right, I said 2 more questions, but we spent time on that, and then we can just go to the live questions. I know that we were originally asking people to just write in the questions queue, but I'll just kind of read from the chat. I know that the person who organized this event probably is telling me, no, don't do that. But just for the sake of conversation, we'll have questions come up in chat, and then we'll see what we can provide. And once again, just another note, PSA to everyone, is that we'll have a separate event. In the near future, where you'll get to hear all of the burning questions, the questions that everyone is thinking of, but because the notice said not to mention it, that you guys aren't mentioning it, but all the things that you really wanted about the game, that will all be revealed in this much larger event. Right now, this is a very
larger
casual
event.
setup that we
Bin ich gespannt.
with our directors and myself, but we will have a very official, professional setting, and we'll have that be the ultimate giveaway of all the information that you guys have wanted. So knowing that, just please ask questions about the game, and we'll try to answer questions on the spot and see if we can do it that way.
Oi. Recht seht ihr die Fragen?
This includes features that will be announced at a later time in terms of our roadmap as to what will be added later. So key features that will be added later. We'll talk more about that once the time is right. And so a lot of people are asking multiplayers, right? Multiplayer is something that we cannot mention right now. That's another topic of discussion.
Okay, Multiplayer ist noch nicht.
Talked about in our later event. And when I say near future, guys, you guys have to understand. Today is the February 28th where we're living. And you guys all know the release date is March 28th, right? We're literally just 1 month away from early access release. So it cannot be too far away. So this very soon that I'm talking about the event, you'll get your answers that you've been wanting for
Das Event wurde
months
schon
and months.
angekündigt.
You'll get it at that event. So we'll try to not answer direct questions of what will be discussed there, but we'll
Aber
try to
Multiplayer
answer,
ist
in terms
interessant,
of
dass sie es
especially because
da
of the,
adressieren
especially
werden.
related to development, that we'll try to have all these directors here answer for you guys. Is there more hairstyles? That's a good question. 그 헤어스타일 좀 그 변화는 좀 어떻나요? 그 지난 게임스컴에 비해서.
헤어스타일?
네.
아.
그러니까 뭐더 많은 걸 추가됐다든지.
아, 됐어요. 특히나 약간 곱슬머리나
음.
흑은
So the one and only 06 asked, is there more hairstyles? And so one thing we're very proud and very happy to announce is that we saw a lot of feedback saying that there were a lot of kind of a straight hair and the slightly wavy hair, but super curly, and the African American hairstyles and the black hairstyles was very, very underrepresented. It was a lot of the comments that we saw throughout our months of monitoring your guys' feedback. So we are happy to announce that we added many to balance out that ratio of the typical hairstyle you're familiar with, but also to add the curly and the more black hairstyles to which when I looked at it looked really, really, really good. So when we released the game in March 28th, yes, we see a lot of cheering. Good team. 환호하고 있어요 지금. 엄청 좋아하고 있어요.
Das finde ich echt sehr, sehr gut, dass sie verschiedene Haarstyles auch für die Ethniengruppen haben und so. Das finde ich gut.
Trying to represent that the right way because
ja, ist gut.
And to provide some perspective as to why that may be underrepresented in other games and even in our previous version of inZOI, is that I talked to Eddie about this regarding especially the black hairstyles, is that the actual the designing of it and putting it into textures, into actual material assets in the game is super complex because of how they're structured. So when you're creating just a straight hairstyle, you go boop, one line, done. So it's much easier that way. But when you have to make these very, very super curly, because you can't just make an outside exterior. Let's say you're creating an afro, right? You can't just create a circle and be done with that. That doesn't look realistic. You have to actually go through all these little curls to make that. Once you zoom in, especially when you zoom into it, you have to make it look really realistic. So with that, it's very, very difficult. 만약에 일반 헤어스타일 이제 디자인하는 것보다 그 흑인 헤어스타일.
Ja, also so entsprechend realistisches Hairstyling zu betreiben ist schon sehr, sehr krass. Aufwendig, aber ich finde es gut, dass sie halt trotzdem da sehr, sehr gut machen.
So in terms of clear
Nochmal
calculation of how
reingehen.
difficult this is, compared to the conventional hairstyle that I mentioned, he said it takes up to 3 times as more time.
Dreimal länger
to even
dauert das so ein
but it
entsprechender
also
Haarstyle, okay.
contributes to a lot heavier data. So the actual data that it takes up to have that one hairstyle compared to other conventional hairstyles is much heavier. So with that additional resource, it makes sense that maybe other game developers and with us included as well in our previous renditions of inZOI, is that when you can make 3 conventional hairstyle compared to 1 black hairstyle, right? It seems more efficient.
헤어 하나가 나머지 캐릭터 전부만큼. 그래서 사실 게임에서 대머리
그 대머리는 이제 so he wanted to emphasize how heavy this one, once again, this is on average, is that one black hairstyle, the how much data it takes up is as much as the rest of the body. So when you have from head all the way down to the toes, the amount of storage space it takes to replicate that, it's the same exact weight as to just getting that one hairstyle down. So once again, this is a very difficult feat that once again we emphasize to the developers, knowing that our players really thought that this was important, and this is something that we wanted to put in. So our art team, especially with Eddie in the helm, made a lot of conscious efforts to provide that for you guys. So if you guys are kind of in agreement with this, can you guys put out some clap emojis for our art team taking the time and doing the prioritizations to to add in the black hair. 박수 쳐드리는 거죠. Yeah.
Finde ich sehr, sehr gut, dass Sie das eingenommen haben.
게임할 때 뭐
So auch.
캐릭터 헤어를 다 대물을 하면 좀 가벼워집니다.
He wanted to mention that because not all PCs will be of the same performance. If it seems that when you apply a black hairstyle and it becomes very, very heavy in terms of the performance, he said the best suggestion is to make the character bald. So removing all the data from the head makes it very lightweight, not just in real life, but in too. So if it's too heavy as an issue, you can remove all that weight, figuratively and literally. So yeah, do that. Okay. We'll go with more questions. I saw questions about tattoos.
Tattoos.
Richtig. That was a big question. Do you guys want tattoos in the game?
Natürlich.
How big is the demand on tattoos? Okay, yes. Tattoo, please. Yes. 타투 확실히 엄청나게 수요가 좀 어떠신가요? 지금 현재 상태와 뭐 미래 지향.
Natürlich, yes.
피어싱도 있고.
Tattoos.
이번 타투는 사실 얼굴에만 일부 한 8월?
8월?
정도쯤에는 이제 몸까지 타투가 가능합니다.
Okay, so quick updates on tattoos right now. We'll go into piercings a little bit later, but tattoos right now in early access, we have facial tattoos and kind of the neck area tattoos, right? So if you can see from my webcam, it's like so the
neck
tattoos that comes above your shirt.
Interesting.
And it has that tattoo going around this way. And some facial tattoos, I probably not what you're thinking, but once you go into the game, it's not like Mike Tyson or something like that. But if you go into the game, you'll find out what he means by facial tattoos. But right now, that's kind of all the tattoos that he's added at the moment.
Okay.
So from the neck up, all the tattoos are right here at the moment.
Interesting.
But we all know that everybody wants kind of the arm tattoos and the body tattoos and the all around the legs. So you can get a whole body ink, right? So everybody wants that, right? So right now he wasn't able to find the resources to get that done quite yet, but he's expecting around August to have full body tattoos and different tattoos around different body parts. So for all those tattoo aficionados out there, I really
wow
my character. So this is exciting news for me too. But yeah, tattoos will be initially available from the neck up. For early access, but later down the line, and he's thinking right around the August time frame that you'll get to see more and more of those
interesting
tattoos. 이 관련해서 그 나중에 그 AI 그 생성기로 이제 타투 만들 수 있어요.
네네.
그러면 지금 그 사전에 제공된 것만 말고.
만들었어요.
So he's for sure that we will have AI generator be implemented into the tattoo making. So not only the tattoos that we provide as our preset, you'll be able to create your own personalized tattoo. So if you have an actual tattoo that you have on your arm, for example, and that's very, very personal to you, you can take a picture of that and or maybe even have I think tattoo parlors nowadays have this kind of digital imaging where you can ask for digital files and have that, send that in an image form. You can upload that as a
wow.
Put on your ZOIs arm.
Also ich kann meine Tattoos abfotografieren, auf den ZOI packen. Also ich kann mich wirklich erstellen, selbst mit meinen Tattoos. Wie geil.
We're a little bit past time. So we're 7 minutes past time. Is everyone okay if we go a little bit over? I know that we said we will go for 90 minutes, but we're 7 minutes past. I'm okay with 다 괜찮아요. 조금만 더.
Ja, ich bin ja eh schon wach.
All our directors are okay, so everyone's saying yes. So we'll go for about maybe 8 more minutes to say right now in Korea it's 11:37 a.m. We'll try to go until maybe 11:45 a.m. and call it a day. And like I said, today's not the be all and end all. Today's not it's not the final conclusion. This is kind of only the starter. This is only the big huge event that you'll see in a few weeks time, right? So definitely have expectations for that, but just today we want to keep it casual. 네? 어떤가요?
Ja, okay.
이건 이미 답했어요.
Gott, sorry.
아 근데 이건 조금 나중에 그 발표할 수 있을 것 같아가지고. Guys, just for reference, I'm reading all the comments, not just the bolded large text, so you guys won't have to always bold up and create large. 아, 야 이거 중요하죠. 이거는 아까 사전 질문에 있긴 했는데 그 학교 active school system. So
Active school,
학교를,
야.
지금 레빗 홀인지 아니면 그냥 나중에라도 직접 학교를 체험할 수 있는 그 계획이 있어요.
계획은 있긴 한데 시기는
그렇죠.
네,
지금 정확하지 않은 거 관련
일단 뭐
리소스가 많이 든다는 게 그냥 사실.
그렇죠.
맞습니다.
도 많이 만들어야
복잡하고.
네,
So we had Boring Ginger ask active school system, and unfortunately, active school system is not available in the game, mostly due to how complex it is. Everyone here probably went to school, right? Of a certain degree. You don't just go to school, study in the classroom, and someone said no. Okay, no, I'm not talking about university. I'm talking about just elementary school, middle school, high school.
Also aktive
combined.
Schools gibt es anscheinend nicht, also
When
Schulen,
you go to
die
school,
aktiv sind.
it's not just you go to school, study in classroom, and then you come back. There's so many elements in this life of going to school. I mean, you can go to a cafeteria to have lunch, and whilst in all of that, you're socializing, having some disagreements with, I don't know, school bullies. So all these very, very complex mechanics that has to be involved to provide a thorough school experience.
Also sie wollten, wenn, ein realistisches
It makes it
Schulsystem
a
machen.
huge project for Alex and the team to take on. So he definitely is saying that this is something that will eventually be added, but he cannot promise a specific timeline as to when
Es
it will
soll
be
implementiert
added. But
werden.
definitely he understands the importance of providing that experience of going to school, which is similar to when you're full-grown adults going to your workplace to actively do your jobs. So for kids, it's basically their jobs to go to school. So in that same parallel form, we understand how important it is to provide.
Aber es soll implementiert werden, das klingt
will
cool.
be added sometime later, but just can't guarantee you at the moment exactly when that will be added. All right. More questions. Let's see.
Interesting.
Well, this is a very common question that actually we didn't cover. Can Two-Faced Lie asked a very simple question, but very important question. Can we have pets? 지금은 그
Haustiere.
그냥 도시에 있는데 내 애완동물, 그러니까 내가 키울 수 반려동물이 없잖아요. 그래서 그거에 대해서 혹시 계획이 있으신지?
너무 하고 싶다. 근데 이제 여기서 대답해 드리면 정말 구현할 게 정말
이렇게 많아 계획은
So unfortunately, this is very much a repeat answer to what we talked about with the active school system, is that pets, all four of us know how important it is to interact
Wir
with
wissen,
your
wie
own
wichtig es
animal,
ist.
and to have them be a part of your life. And we understand the very importance of that and the significance of what that experience will provide to our players. But kind of the same answer to what we talked about with the school system is that it is so complex. There's so many things that we have to take care of, just so that if we say that we implemented a pet system, but just have the pet be next to you, and that be the end of it. Then it doesn't provide that full experience that we're intending. So with that, we definitely will be working on pets, but once again, we'll be going to the route of not exactly knowing when.
Okay,
that
Haustiere
will
werden
be
auch
provided.
implementiert, aber wann ist
But
die Frage.
definitely in the plans, and we'll hopefully be able to provide that sometime in the future. So from a creative standpoint, from an art standpoint, from a technical standpoint, this is a full-fledged effort to have pets, full-fledged pets in the game. So it's a huge project that they'll have to take on, but definitely will be in the works sometime in the future.
Okay.
저희가 이제
Aber das war klar,
멘토라고 여기
dass es nicht sofort kommt im Early Access.
뭐 힘이 없다.
Ah, es klingt doch gut, dass sie das alles wissen und das implementieren wollen dann. Ist die Frage wie, ne? Das wissen wir alles noch nicht.
Okay, so Eddie gave you guys a very, very important tip. So he's the art director and he's the creative director, but he's the technical director. They are all their individual directors of the hugely important portion of our development team, right? But he wanted to mention that they have no power. All three of them do not have power to initiate what exact project that they're gonna work on next. So that's a cue to once you guys get an opportunity to talk with Cajun, you guys know Cajun is the producer and director. He's the executive director. So director of all three guys, all three of these guys. So these are the directors of their individual portions of the game, but Cajun is the director of those directors. So what you guys have to do is that when you get an opportunity to interact with Cajun, either by chat or whatever platform that may be available, you guys need to let him know exactly what you want added to the game. So whether that be pets, whether that be active school system,
Alles wollen sie. Alles.
you have to let him know, and then he will make the decision that that's gonna be the next thing that they work on. So you guys understand? So you guys that chat. Okay. Someone asked about controller support. 그 혹시 바로 early access 때부터 이제 그 컨트롤러 지원이 될까요?
Controller Support
나중에 아마
ist natürlich auch für Konsolen dann wichtig später.
컨트롤
Ne?
이거 나중에 할 거라는 것도 알고 있고.
네.
그러니까
Ja, ja.
그때랑 비슷할 거라고 혹시 보면.
올해 내내 개발하려고
Würdest du mit
올해는
Controller spielen? Ich glaube schon, ne?
그러면 올해 안에는 볼 수 있는 가능성이 있는 거예요? 내년에?
그거는 잘 모르겠는데 어쨌든 개발은 곧 시작할 예정이에요.
Okay. 네네네네. So controller support that was asked a lot for by the people here, and then Leonard gave the answer that right now they don't have native controller support on
nicht Controller
inZOI,
Support?
and that became deprioritized once again because of all the other things that they thought was more important to
Nicht
work on at the
priorisiert?
moment. So controller support is not available right now, but it's going to be worked on very, very soon after early access release. So when that will come out, I'm sure we'll get more updates regarding that at a later time. 뭐 관련된 질문과 Steam Deck compatibility is also
Steam
is
Deck
a
dann
question. It's
genau.
very related. 바로 대답할 수 있죠. Steam Deck도 지원.
스팀 덱을 별도로 지원하지 않는데
별도.
실행이 되는 건 저희가
네. So you guys know that with Valve they have these designation as to Steam Deck is officially supported versus it's not officially supported by Valve. It's not been calibrated with Valve, but it still runs on a Steam Deck. We're kind of on the latter end of that spectrum. So we didn't work with Valve to make inZOI be working every little details of that to make it very, very fluid and suitable for the Steam Deck experience. But Leonard did test it out on a Steam Deck, and he said that the inZOI runs fine.
Oh,
on it.
inZOI
So,
läuft auf dem Steam Deck. Das hätte ich jetzt nicht gedacht.
Because I know that Steam Deck, I have a Steam Deck too, but Steam Deck, you can customize a lot of the capabilities to make it suitable for you. So as long as it runs okay on Steam Deck, you guys can definitely use that as a device, and you can customize all the buttons and all the things.
Ist natürlich nicht komplett darauf ausgelegt, aber es läuft drauf. Das hat noch nicht funktioniert bei meinem Playtest.
We're gonna go with two more questions. Let's go with two more questions. Murder. Is murder a big thing? Okay. 그 살인 가능한지. 그러니까 도둑질은 가능하다고 이제 이미 알고 계시고. 살인.
가벼운 폭력 정도는 있는데.
이거 때리는 정도.
Mörder?
아, 불을 지르는
Kann's
걸
mir nicht vorstellen.
간접적 살인이네.
직접적으로
Was kannst du dir das vorstellen? Nee, ne?
Okay, don't know if this is the answer that you guys were looking for, but here's the answer question Murder question mark. So is there murder in inZOI? I think this is still related to the age rating system, but right now there you can murder someone you indirectly using certain features of the game. One hint I will give is that you can put houses on fire, okay? You can put houses on fire.
Wir können Houses on Fire setzen und dann, wenn Feuer dann ausbricht, sterben sie.
In that house that is burning and does not escape, that ZOI will die, okay? That ZOI will die. So while this ZOI did not put out the command of kill that ZOI, murder that ZOI, that is not available in the game. But if you see another ZOI that you, this is gonna go really bad. If you want to see a ZOI that you happen to, for whatever reason, not saying you should do this in real life, not condoning this behavior in any way, but if you see someone that, for whatever reason, you want them dead, okay, and they happen to be at that exact moment, they happen to be in that house, you can say that you've accidentally dropped a match, for example, whatever their actions to get the house on fire. You can make the house be on fire while you as a ZOI did not directly kill that ZOI, very indirectly, and you can say to the court very unintentionally, once again, not condoning this behavior, none of this in any way. You can say that the ZOI died as a result of your accidental arson. Once again, very accidental. You have to convince that to the jury very, very convincingly. Okay, so I hope that answers murder question mark. No, but yes. Okay.
No,
so
but yes.
leave it at that. Okay. No, don't bring the police car to me. I didn't do that. Let's see. One more question. I'll
Noch
pick a
eine
good, I'll pick a
Frage?
good one. Come on, guys, give me a good. Oh, this is a good one. Ooh. 지금 답변할 수 있나 이거? 수영장? 너무 궁금해하셔가지고. 근데 그냥 만약에 그 계획이 아니어도 되고, 뭐 예를 들어서 이제 현재는 어떤 것 때문에 뭐 어려움이 있으시고, 뭐 그냥 뭐 나중에 뭐 된다면 어떤 상황에서 뭐 구현이 가능할 환경이 나오지, 뭐 이제
수영 다 포함인 거예요.
수영
Are you single?
그렇죠. 지금은 뭐 모델 있잖아요.
Oh,
그런 거
man.
말고 그냥 실제 수영할 수 있는 수영장. So I'm gonna ask. I checked with them in Korean, and if you guys understand some Korean, I know that you guys understood that. I'm gonna ask about pools, right?
Pools.
Swimming pools. This was we weren't trying to be intentionally evasive about it, but it's a very difficult topic, and I know that Leonard was stressing a lot over this. And let's hear his answer. 어떠신가요? 일단
사실 개발을 시작했는데
시작했어요.
얼리 액세스 때 넣고 싶었는데 좀 부족함이 있어가지고
부족함이.
완성 이후 업데이트로 제공하려고 지금 개발하고 있습니다.
확실히 근데 넣으시려니 그리고 어떻게 보면 조금 더 보완을 하면 이제
Also Pools waren schon in meinem Playtest drin, aber sie haben noch nicht funktioniert. Aber sie waren da.
수영도
있습니다.
오. 가능성 그래도 은근 있는 말씀드려도 미래지향적으로.
네, 계획.
Okay. So the official answer from technical director of inZOI. So he has all the authority and all the responsibility to make this happen. But he said, the swimming feature, in addition to providing a swimming pool naturally, was actually in the works during development, he really wanted to release it early access, but at the moment he thought that the quality of what he was able to develop with the team is very insufficient, and he thought that the quality
das Schwimmen
was
ist noch
not
nicht
up to
gut
par,
genug?
to his standards. So unfortunately, you won't be able to see swimming or interactable swimming pools from the early access launch, but it's definitely in his plans to work on it and improve on it so that once he does release it in the future, that'll be a satisfactory experience. Okay. Yeah. Funny images, by the way, guys. I know that I said one more question, but this has been really popping up for on the comments. So I think I don't think that 하나만 더 할게요. 그 hospitals. We're gonna talk about hospitals. Okay? 병원이 지금 없는 걸로 알고
Krankenhäuser
있는데 그 이제 만약에 되려면 어떤 그런 조건들이 있어요?
일단 지난번에 한번 시도를 해봤었는데 검토를 해봤었는데 그 일단 뭐 이 의사가 환자를 진찰하는 걸 만들기 약간 지금 할 수 없구나 하고 좀 미뤄뒀어요. 네.
나중에 그러면 언젠가는 그래도 되실 계획이 있으시겠죠?
그렇죠. 언젠가만 얘기하고 있어가지고.
그렇죠. 언젠가 유저분들 어쨌든 다면
만들어야 할 거 너무 많고 뭐가 더 중요한지는 목소리를 내달라.
So in response to the oh, can you guys hear me? Someone said mic's been cut off. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Okay. So maybe just that one person. Okay. So the response to the hospitals question, will that be in the game? Is that right now? This is basically a ditto to all the other similar questions that we got with the active schools, with pets, is that it's very complex. There's a lot to make, and what Alex found the most challenging out of all the elements of creating a very interactive hospital is that you guys know when you go into a hospital not knowing why you're feeling sick, why you're feeling hurt, you go into the diagnostician, and then I don't know if any of you guys have seen MD House, the hospital series, the medical series that came up in America. Yes. So kind of like you have to go to a diagnostician to find out what's wrong with you, right? To find out what's wrong with you. And that portion, while it's very, very critical to the hospital experience, because you're not going to just go into a hospital knowing exactly, what's wrong with you and then go to the hospital bed and get that treated. You have to go through a diagnostician. But that procedure is very, very difficult to pull off at the moment. So that's why it became very deprioritized once again. Still understanding it's a very important feature for players. It's something that he will work on later, and I think he has to also be very selective of what features within the hospital that he has to implement first. So,
Also Krankenhaus kommt später.
Once again, up to you guys as to letting us know what experience
Was man da halt eben haben möchte, wollen sie auf die Spiele
as long as we
achten.
have those and those things, that even if we don't have a complete hospital experience quite yet, what will make it very satisfactory in terms of that experience. 뭐 산부인과 얘기하시는 분도 있고 그냥 그 아기 낳는 것 자체를 병원에서 하겠고 그리고 CT 그냥 그 머신 들어가서 이거 뭐 있다 뭐 이런 식으로 그냥 할 수 있다면 또 좋을 것 같고 그리고 그냥 nurse and doctor career, 오케이. 그 간호사하고 의사 그 직업 자체가 너무 흥미로울 것 같아가 그것만이라도 뭔가 다른 방식으로 할 수 있다면 되게 중요할 것 같다고 하시면
병도 많이
많아. And he has to make a lot of disease because there's not a lot of in ZOI right now. So creating a lot of variety of diseases and illnesses will be also important to
Sind noch nicht so viele drin. Das wird
related
in
careers
Zukunft
that you
wichtiger
guys are
sein.
all wanting with the doctors and the nurses. Okay, like I said, I said from the get-go, it is impossible for us to answer every single question,
Klar.
even if we are to spend all 24 hours here today. So we went very, very overboard, way more than what we promised. Thanks to all three of these directors here who are extremely busy. You guys can't even imagine. I'm busy on my own terms, but I cannot compare my work to what these guys are experiencing from a handling and directing the entire technical department, all the creative department to the art department. These guys are extremely, extremely busy, and they took out their very, very valuable, precious time to be with you guys and to be in this space together, so that when we're answering these questions and providing that communication for you guys, they really did just go over and beyond to provide that support for you guys. So once again, this is the last time I'm going to initiate this, but it will be meaningful. Let's have a clap for all of our directors here, because they were incredible and being very supportive in this communication effort with our players. So yes, thank you so much. And we want to thank everyone here too. We started off with a little over 1,000 audience members, but we're still at close to 800. So this 2 hours, almost 2 hours that we were here talking about inZOI and the things that are to come, we're very, very happy and very, very humble that so many people are taking interest in this project.
Das ist echt schön zu
We're
sehen.
calling it project, but it's no longer a project. In just 1 month, it will be a full-fledged game
Yay!
that you'll be able to play directly. No longer have to look at videos. No longer have to, speculate what the game will be about. But it will be in your hands, on your screen, and you'll be able to experience this new rendition of life simulation that we have to provide for you guys. So all of us here and everybody in the developing team, we're very, very busy, but equally we're very, very excited to introduce our long time project to you guys, so that you guys can really enjoy what our kind of rendition of life simulation is going to be all about. So please stay excited the rest of our development period for this last month that we have. And like I said, I'm only giving a sneak peek because we will have an official announcement on Discord about this huge event, huge professional event that's gonna happen within the next few weeks. So keep an eye on that, and then so hope you guys join us in that next program, and then we'll have a lot more fun there as well. So yes, thank you very much to everyone who have joined and for sticking around all the end. We cannot say any more about how much we appreciate everyone here, and then we want to say thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye everyone.
Okay, das war auf jeden Fall länger als gedacht. Also das finde ich schon sehr schön, dass sie mehr gemacht haben. Gehen wir nochmal hier hin. Also ich habe das im Chat schon gesehen, was da so passiert. Early Access Teaser, den können wir uns natürlich auch nochmal anschauen. Moment. Oh, bitte nicht so laut. So. Dann wollen wir mal gucken. Ich habe mich schon gewundert. Es ist ja hier. Nochmal. Das sieht echt süß aus. Quasi Poker mit Geld und das ist ja... Okay, also hier sehen wir auch, Moment, also es gab natürlich ein paar Details, die ich sehr cute finde. Wir können hier einfach nochmal drüber schauen. Die Ampelsachen, genau, hier sind wir in Bliss Bay auf jeden Fall. Das hat sich auf jeden Fall geändert, so ein bisschen das Interface. Hier sehen wir auch noch Business-Sachen. Recent Relationship Logs. That High Five was on point. Okay. Ich gucke gerade noch mal, ob hier sich was verändert hat, aber das sieht alles noch fein aus. Also das ist natürlich auch schön mit dem Picknick, ne? Wie sie da liegen. Sehr schön. Die Autodekoration. Sehr cute. Wie sie da liegt. Und hier sind die Babys. So würde ich auch auf jeden Fall agieren. der Shop bzw. Jobs. Das finde ich halt, oh mein Gott. Es ist auf jeden Fall sehr interessant. Hier wird Art Poker gespielt, würde ich mal sagen. Und Geld wird entsprechend in die Luft geschossen. Finde ich cool. Was haben wir hier? Party mit Scripted Actions, die wir anscheinend dann hinzufügen können. Okay. Das gab es auch noch nicht so. Bin ich gespannt, wie sich das... Also es sieht so nach ein bisschen Social Events aus, ne? Hier war es wie so Streaming. Das ist irgendwie so nach Streaming aus. Und vor allem mit dem ZOI da unten? Okay. Ich habe super viele Fragezeichen gerade, aber ich finde das hier gut, ne, wie sie auf dem Tisch tanzen. Ist das vielleicht eine Bachelorette-Party? Junggesellenabschied? Ist das ein Stripper? Nein, natürlich ist es kein Stripper, aber das wäre doch mal was. Auf dem Tisch tanzen finde ich auch gut. Aber hier sehen wir auch noch mal, ganz wichtig, inZOI Online Showcase findet am 19. März statt. Und da wird alles Wichtige adressiert, vor allem was Preis angeht. Multiplayer haben wir heute gehört, das wird auf jeden Fall noch adressiert. Sehr schön. Early Access Launch ist auch entsprechend UTC, wie auch immer. Hier, ist es hier noch? Ich habe auf jeden Fall irgendwann noch mal so einen Screenshot gesehen, wo auch mal die Zeiten und so weiter waren. Ja, hier, guck mal. Ja, also es wird eine Nachtschicht werden mal wieder. Wer hätte das gesagt? Early Access Release Date ist am 28. März um 1 Uhr nachts für uns. Also um 1 Uhr nachts könnt ihr es schon spielen. Wenn ihr durchhaltet, dann könnt ihr richtig loslegen schon. Und der Live-Showcase ist am 19. März um 2 Uhr nachts, wenn ich das richtig sehe. Mensch. Ja, 2 Uhr nachts. Das wird dann für mich auch wieder eine Nachtschicht sein. Naja, aber mit deutschen Untertiteln, das ist natürlich cool, dass sie das hinzufügen. Und hier sieht man auch, der Showcase wird den Early Access, also den Preis entsprechend fokussieren, die SC-Struktur, Development Roadmap, aber sowas wie beispielsweise Tattoos, was im August da kommen soll, das wird da auch adressiert. Und andere wichtige Fragen von der Community. Okay. Aber da sehen wir schon, ich bin natürlich ein bisschen enttäuscht, dass sie das noch nicht adressiert haben, aber es ist klar, dass sie nochmal so einen Marketing-Buzz haben möchten, kurz vor inZOI, dass sie das nochmal adressieren. Macht aus meiner Sicht natürlich marketingmäßig Sinn. Aus Community-Perspektive wäre es natürlich cooler gewesen. Hätten sie jetzt schon etwas dazu gesagt, aber trotzdem muss ich sagen, sieht das alles sehr schön aus. Ich fand es sehr gut, wie offen sie auch mit der Community interagiert haben. Ich kannte das ja schon von August, wie sie mit den Creatoren kommuniziert haben. So 1:1 war das auch hier in diesem Talk. Es ist natürlich so, dass immer mehr gesehen werden kann. Es ist ein Early Access Game. Also klar, es wird auch gesagt, es ist ein Early Access Game, aber es sollte jedem klar sein, dass das nicht sofort Sims 4 Verhältnisse haben wird und nicht haben möchte. Daran arbeiten sie, dass es immer mehr Spieltiefe bekommt. Ich mache mir ein bisschen Sorgen, muss ich ehrlich sagen, was Familien angeht, weil da haben sie selber gesagt, da arbeiten sie noch dran, dass das ein bisschen tiefergehender ist. Und was zumindest aussieht, worauf sie sich priorisieren, ist vor allem das Aussehen, dass es sehr ästhetisch aussieht und so. Ich bin gespannt, wie die Community darauf reagiert, aber nichtsdestotrotz habe ich dennoch ein gutes Bauchgefühl, alles, was so gesagt wurde, was so adressiert wurde. Aber ich denke, man muss wirklich wissen bei inZOI, wenn es jetzt nächsten Monat rauskommt, es wird ein Early Access Game sein. Es wird nicht ansatzweise fertig sein, es wird noch nicht so tief sein, wie manche Leute das sehr wahrscheinlich haben wollen und erwarten irgendwie. Das sollte man sich eventuell dann abschminken. Aber ich habe eigentlich echt ein gutes Gefühl und ich bin gespannt, was die nächsten Wochen bringen werden. Ich habe, wie gesagt, ich weiß selber noch nicht, wann es für mich losgehen könnte. oder nicht. Aber was ich euch schon sagen kann, das ist nämlich offiziell, ich werde bei Twitch auf der Startseite sein zum inZOI-Release. Das hat nichts mit inZOI selbst zu tun, das ist keine Promotion oder so, sondern jeder Twitch-Partner darf sich auf die Twitch-Startseite dafür bewerben. Und ich wurde angenommen. Und wenn inZOI am 28. released, bin ich nachmittags mit inZOI live auf der Startseite. Also ich bin da sehr gespannt. Und ob es da irgendwelche Besonderheiten gibt mit Merch, Verlosung etc., ich bin da im Austausch, das kann ich nicht versprechen. Aber ich gucke einfach mal, was da möglich ist. Also inZOI wird auf jeden Fall mein Leben in Zukunft dominieren. Also vor allem der März und dann mal gucken, wie es dann zukünftig ist. Also ich hoffe, euch hat es gefallen. Ich mache mich jetzt ran an das Hauptkanal-Video und ihr seid hoffentlich informiert. Also danke fürs Zusehen. Es ist 4 Uhr nachts, ey. Super.